I woke up with the strange feeling that someone had just placed me back in bed. My body felt stiff and unresponsive, like that groggy numbness you get when shaking off anesthesia. Muscles sluggish and wooden from too much stillness. The room seemed normal enough. Dim street light spilling through the gaps in the curtains. The only weird thing was this faint zapping sound outside, like something electric had zipped through the darkness. I got up and walked to the window. Nothing, no signs of life. Just the grim shadows of the trees swaying in the still night. I tried to convince myself it was just a dream, but that gnawing sense of unease wouldn't let go. The next day I checked back into the hotel for work. I couldn't shake the strange feeling that something was waiting for me here. But that night, I had a very strange dream. If it was even a dream. In the dream, I saw them. The alien hovered in midair in front of me, completely still, like a statue. Its elongated head held two enormous eyes, their color resembling tarnished steel with a faint green sheen. Its skin was eerily smooth, almost too perfect. Like a material that wasn't quite alive but still pulsed faintly, as if it were mimicking something organic. A strange, thick cable floated toward my head, its end bristling with dozens of tiny needles. It moved deliberately as if guided by an unseen will, stopping just short of making contact. The alien hovered in front of me, staring at some kind of holographic diagram. It was my brain. My brain. He leaned in closer, stretched out one of those long fingers and, like he was using some kind of virtual knife, made a precise cut. Then he inserted something small and weird, and it just disappeared into the image like it had never been there. "Curious how long you'll last after this," he said flatly, like he was talking about some lab experiment on a rat. I tried to scream, move, do anything, but nothing. My whole body was frozen, paralyzed. The only thing I could do was move my eyes. And then this random thought hit me. Wait, how am I even understanding him? He's not speaking English, is he? The alien finally looked away from the diagram and turned his gaze to me. His huge, cold eyes stared straight through me, like he could see everything inside. "You won't remember this, but it'll change everything," he said. His lips didn't move. The words just echoed straight into my head. When I woke up, my hands were trembling. Everything felt so real, like it had actually happened. Later, I called my mom.
Hello, my love. Everything
She asked
okay?
me if I ever heard whispering voices before falling asleep. As a kid, I used to hear stuff like that sometimes, but I always chalked it up to being tired or just my imagination, but now it felt like it was part of something bigger. When I was 8, I first noticed these strange, bright lights in the night sky. At first, I thought, what weird stars? I've never seen anything like that before. But then I noticed something strange. They didn't stay still. Some blinked faintly, while others glowed steady and sharp, darting and zigzagging across the sky in ways that made no sense. Sometimes, I could almost hear faint, muffled voices, like they were coming from somewhere far away, pushing through a heavy veil of space. They were impossible to make out, just a murmur on the edge of hearing. I told my parents about it, but they just waved it off, saying, probably just airplanes. Back then, I believed them. I was a kid, after all. Those lights showed up from time to time after that. Silent, persistent, always just far enough to keep me guessing. They felt like watchers, my silent, secret observers. Then, sometime during my teenage years, they stopped. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they were just waiting. By the third day, I had no choice but to go back to the hotel. I didn't want to, not after everything that had happened. But work left me no other options. It was the only hotel in the area, and I still had meetings to wrap up. That night, I lay in the room, unable to shake this strange, gnawing feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. It wasn't the kind of paranoia you can laugh off. It felt real, like eyes were on me the whole time. I just lay there, scrolling through my phone, Googling everything I could think of. Stress, insomnia, vivid dreams. Could they really cause something this bizarre? Something that felt this real? I kept looking for answers, hoping to find something that would make sense of it all. At some point, I must have drifted off without realizing it. I even started dreaming, something calm, peaceful. But then, it happened. I woke up to a strange humming sound, like a generator had been switched on right there in my room. My whole body was frozen, paralyzed. Then I felt it, something cold brushing against my neck. In that moment, I saw myself. I was lying on the bed, completely still, like a lifeless doll. I thought, this has to be a dream. It has to be. The humming grew louder, morphing into faint whispers that echoed inside my head. The sounds were relentless, sometimes so sharp they felt like knives slicing through my ears, and other times so faint I had to strain just to hear them. Everything after that felt like a blur, like I was trapped in a thick fog. A room, massive, alive, walls glowing with shifting symbols, humming like a pulse. The slab, cold, metallic. My body strapped down, wires snaking into the floor. Shallow breaths, mechanical, a sharp tingling behind my ear, needles pricking deep under the skin. A cold wave rippled down my spine, goosebumps exploding across my body. A sound, high-pitched, a drill, piercing, relentless. My skull vibrated, rattling like it was about to split apart. I wanted to die. Shapes above me, tall, watching, eyes glowing in the haze, silent. And then, her, my mother, standing among them, smiling at me like nothing was wrong, like she belonged there. I reached for my face, nothing, no head. The hum grew deeper, resonating through my ribs, shaking everything inside me. Something shifted. Something was being done. A finger pointed. The metallic arm descended. Sharp tools glinting, inching closer. Her smile stayed unbroken. Her eyes didn't blink. I tried to move, to scream. Nothing. The alien turned slightly, its massive eyes fixed on a glowing screen. On the screen, me as a child, running between strange glowing orbs, their light pulsing with something alive, something unearthly. Then darkness. I woke up gasping, sweat soaking my skin, my hands gripping my neck, trembling. The next morning, I noticed a thin, almost invisible mark on my neck. At work, I told my story to a colleague, James. He'd always been into conspiracy theories, so I figured he'd have something to say. "Man, that sounds like a classic abduction case," he said, leaning in like I'd just handed him gold. "You ever think about getting an MRI? People sometimes find implants after stuff like this." I laughed it off, told him he was crazy. But the idea stuck in my head, no matter how much I wanted to ignore it. A week later, I gave in and got the scan done. Nothing showed up. No implants, no weird anomalies. But as the doctor went over the results, he paused, squinting at the screen. "Have you had any head trauma recently?" he asked. "No," I said, confused. "Huh. Strange," he muttered, pointing at the image. "You've got a small area of inflammation in your right temporal lobe. It's like microscopic damage, almost." My stomach dropped. That was the exact spot the alien had been pointing to. I haven't dreamed about them since. But sometimes in the dead of night, I wake up with this unshakable feeling, like someone's watching me. The whispers? They're still there, just faint enough to keep me questioning my sanity. Was it a dream? A trick of the mind, or a real abduction? I don't know. But every now and then I look up at the night sky and I see them again. Those same strange lights I saw as a kid. And I can't help but feel like they're still out there, waiting.